DFF Army, we are coming back at you with round 3 of our DFF Analyst Mock Draft. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you quickly through the recaps of rounds 1 and 2, just the players there, and then we'll move on to round 3, and we'll give you the recap of the players as well, like the logic behind the picks. All right. So in round 1, we had Bijan Robinson go at the 1.1. 1.2 was Jahmyr Gibbs. 1.3, Anthony Richardson. 1.4, Bryce Young. 1.5, CJ Stroud. 1.6, Jackson Smith-Njigba. 1.7, Zach Charbonnet. 1.8, Jordan Addison. 1.9, Quentin Johnston. 1.10, Will Levis, 1.11, Josh Downs, and 1.12, Michael Mayer. That's your first round. Going on to round 2, at the 2.1 was Tank Bigsby, 2.2, Devin Achane, 2.3, Zay Flowers, 2.4, Jalen Hyatt, 2.5, Sean Tucker, 2.6, Tyjae Spears, 2.7, Dalton Kincaid, 2.8, Zach Evans, 2.9, Kayshon Boutte, 2.10, Darnell Washington, 2.11, Rashee Rice, and 2.12, Marvin Mims. All right, so now we are going to get into round 3. All right, so on the board in our 12-team DFF Analyst Mock Draft, Superflex, and Tight End Premium, Matt Ward is on the board with 3.01, and he goes with Kendre Miller, running back from TCU. Matt writes, Kendre Miller boasts the prototypical size and pass production of many successful players before him, but lacks the top-end athleticism of his peers. Miller is an excellent between-the-tackles thumper. The TCU product will certainly need to improve his three-down skill set at the next level, but can make an immediate impact as an early-down grinder in his first season. All right, moving on to the 3.02, Doug Harrelson on the board. And this player has been a riser in this pre-draft process. It is quarterback Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. Doug writes, this is an upside pick, though I considered both Deuce Vaughn and Israel Abanikanda at this spot. I ultimately went with the QB. Hooker possesses more arm talent than we typically get in this range of Superflex drafts. And for a guy expected to go late on day 2 or on day 3 in the draft, his availability early in 2023 could be in trouble due to the later season ACL injury, but he feels like a guy that you would likely stash on a taxi squad anyways. All right. Now we are moving on to Ben Winkler at our 3.03. And Ben is going to go with Deuce Vaughn, running back out of Kansas State. Ben writes, going purely off my grades, I'd have selected Israel Abanikanda here, but going off purely grades, I'm probably walking away with Izzy in all of my rookie drafts. So I decided to shake things up here and go with Deuce Vaughn, who's also grading quite highly for me. Vaughn would be an RB1 candidate if he kept his current BMI and added 4 inches of height. We at DFF have had interesting conversations on why his height matters. What part of his game does it impact? If he holds up in pass protection and is still effective at the goal line, I respectfully do not care how tall he is. Vaughn arguably has the best production profile of this entire class and checks basically every box we look for as indicators of NFL success. Early declare, breakout, age, etc. He pops on film with his next-level elusiveness and change of direction ability, as well as NF-level home run speed and a great knack for finding gaps in the defense. I know the height is hard to ignore, but the sheer perfection of the rest of the profile is hard to ignore as well. If he is able to snag day 2 draft capital, I could absolutely see Deuce getting vaulted into the early to mid-second round of rookie drafts. Okay, so that puts myself on the board at the 3.04. And I really love this part of the draft this year. There's some legit players that are going in the early to mid-third round. There's just a lot of good depth in this draft. What it lacks maybe in the high-end elite players, it definitely makes up for in the depth. So here, I am going with one of the players that was previously mentioned in the other recaps, and another player that has really risen throughout this process. Israel Abanikanda. So this is the stage of the draft where the real value is for this class. There are multiple players I still think will be impact players on the board. Luke Musgrave and Chase Brown were under consideration, but I instead went with Israel Abanikanda. Abanikanda has been a riser in this draft process. He had elite production last year with 1,431 yards rushing and 20 rushing TDs. This was good for a 97th percentile dominator rating. I found it interesting Abanikanda did not run the drills at the combine. He is thought to have good speed measurables, and he actually just proved that at his pro day. His 5'11", 216-pound size is perfect for the NFL grind. Okay, moving on to the 3.05 is Chris Miles, and one of the players I just mentioned there goes off the board. Chase Brown, running back out of Illinois. Brown has seen his stock rapidly rise following the NFL Scouting Combine. He ran a 4.43, achieved a speed score of 108.5, and a burst score of 131.5. These are all great numbers. Add his solid production profile to this athleticism, and all of a sudden, we have a guy that could be a day 2 pick on our hands. This is my target range for those backs, so I will gladly take Brown here. And moving on to the 3.6, we got Drew Pettiford on the board, and he has taken another one of the players that I just mentioned in my recap that I was considering, Luke Musgrave. Drew writes, this class has some really talented athletes at the tight end position. Luke Musgrave has the absolute total package to be an elite fantasy contributor at the next level. He was on my board as tight end 2 coming into the draft, and I was thrilled to get him here at the 3.06. He is a natural receiver and can play in almost any offensive scheme. He's been compared to players like Dallas Goedert and Hawkinson, elite tight ends. Of course, landing spot will be important, but he is the prototypical archetype for a fantasy stud. Steal here for me personally. Moving on to the 3.07, we got running back out of Texas, Roschon Johnson. Bijan's backup is shaping up to be a very solid NFL player. He's on the older side as a prospect, but a very sound runner who is aggressive with the ball in his hands. He likely won't ever be a workhorse or staple in your fantasy lineup, but more a weekly fill-in or flex option. Okay, moving on to the 3.8 with Paul Patterson on the board, and Paul selects Evan Hull. At this point in a rookie draft, you probably aren't going to hit on a useful player. But if you at least want a chance at some startable production, you better be drafting RBs. While day 3 wide receivers find themselves buried on depth charts, never to be heard from again, guys like Chuba Hubbard, Khalil Herbert, James Robinson, and Isaiah Pacheco are thrust into starting roles due to injury each and every season. Sometimes you just get a few weeks of flex-level production, other times you can cash it out for a massive profit, but at least you get something. With his size, athleticism, and 3-down skill set, Evan Hull is the perfect dart throw here. He will likely fall to the 5th or 6th round of the NFL draft, but he is absolutely capable of providing RB2 production if there's an injury ahead of him on the depth chart. Moving on to the 3.9, Doc is on the board, and he is going with Cedric Tillman, wide receiver out of Tennessee. Doc writes, it's very rare for your author to draft a late declare player at any stage of the draft, but Cedric Tillman is worth it. The preference is normally to take athletic tight ends in rounds 3 through 5 of rookie drafts, but Tillman has the size and speed combination to actually end up becoming an alpha receiver at the next level. Even a 25% chance or less opportunity to land a player like that at this stage of the rookie draft is a massive value pick. As for the prospect himself, Tillman plays the position with physicality. He shows excellent hands and body control, and while we wish he was faster, he does come from NFL bloodlines. Tillman displayed his toughness several times over the last couple of seasons, playing through injuries. At 6'3", 215 pounds, he is capable of making the contested catch and fighting for yards after contact. At this stage of the draft, the upside is tremendous, and the chances are higher for a hit with a refined prospect like Cedric Tillman. Getting towards the end of round 3 here, we are coming up at the 3.10 with Billy Beeman on the board. And Billy is going with wide receiver out of Iowa State, Xavier Hutchinson. Hutchinson is a 6'3", 210-pound receiver who exhibits solid route running skills along with good after-the-catch ability. He could use some development for sure, but I like the value here at the end of the 3rd round. All right. Going on to pick 3.11. Joe is on the board, and Joe picks Mohamed Ibrahim, running back out of Minnesota. Ibrahim is a bit on the older side, but this late in the draft, taking shots on running backs is kind of what you do. He's a hard-nosed runner who shows good vision, but isn't quite as athletic as you'd like. He did however, have a very productive career at Minnesota. Last pick of the 3rd round. MG on the board. Going with another Oklahoma player here, Eric Gray. Running back. MG writes, nimble back with soft hands. I'll take his value all day to PPR format. Another boon is his pass blocking prowess. Projects as a 3rd back out of the gate, but has the potential for more in the right offense. All right, DFF Army, that concludes round 3. I'll take you through round 3 again. I'm not going to take you through rounds 1 and 2. You can go to the beginning or check out our other videos on rounds 1 and 2 that also has the full pick logic recaps that I did for round 3 in this video. So, round 3, the first pick was Kendre Miller, 3.2, Hendon Hooker, 3.3, Deuce Vaughn, 3.4, Israel Abanikanda, 3.5, Chase Brown, 3.6, Luke Musgrave, 3.7, Roshan Johnson, 3.8, Evan Hull, 3.9, Cedric Tillman, 3.10, Xavier Hutchinson, 3.11, Mohamed Ibrahim, and 3.12, Eric Gray. All right, thank you all, and please check out dynasfootballfactory.com. We're going to have everything you need for your rookie draft prep there, all player profiles, our rookie models, the rookie draft guide, of course, rankings updated frequently. And that's all. So thank you all, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.